Good morning. Welcome to AP Computer Science A. Today we are going to be working with section 3.3. So you should have your notes ready. Today we are doing else statements. On the last two sections, we cover if statements. In this section, if, else. It's going to be a two-way selection. So this is an essential part of programming where you are going to be able to make decisions, and it's an essential feature of any programming language. Now, we are going to do the same thing that we did last time. If statement, if your grade is greater or equal to 0.60, it's going to be a passing grade. Else, you're failing. So whenever you do an if-else statement, you are going to perform that line or this line. But on an if-else statement, you're not going to be able to perform both lines because either that's going to be true. If that's true, then you'll perform this line. If that is false, then it's going to else perform that line. So you're making a decision, one or the other, but not both. You should have your REPL ready, REPL ready, and make sure to type in your name. Make sure that you are coding with me, and don't forget to click on submit. So let's get started. Today we're going to be working with user input. So we do need to go to import or class, import java.utility.scanner. So that is in the package utility, and the class that we are going to be using is the scanner class that will allow us to be able to get input. Now we are going down to line 19. Now, is scanner class a static class or a non-static class? Scanner, static, non-static, static, non-static. Which one is it? Scanner class is a non-static class. It's a non-static class because we need to be able to create an object, and we're going to declare it, which is going to be given the name. We usually use scan. You can use anything you want. It doesn't have to be scan. It's just a variable name. Equals new. We're going to instantiate it, scanner, and system data. So this scanner is a non-static class, and this is going to allow us to get input from the user. So now let's go and ask the user a question. We're going to use something that will match your notes. So the system.out.print. Let's ask the user for the grade. What is your current grade? Then we are going to just use an integer instead of a decimal. So let's just use, they're going to type it up. So let's go use an int. Grade equals. In order to be able to obtain the user input, we have to use the object name, scan. Scan is an object of class type scanner. So that's something that you need to continue to remind yourself. Scan is an object. Scan is an instance of the class, right? This is an object. We have created a duck. So that's one duck. That's another instance of another duck. That is another instance of another duck. So this is an object, or it's an instance of a class. It's an object of class type scanner. And we're going to use next int. Remember that next int is a method inside the scanner class, because it's also a non-static class. A non-static method, we have to use the object in order to be able to access or use the method. So those are things that vocabulary they need to be able to keep in mind. You need to constantly be repeating to yourself. Scan is an object. Scan is an object of type scanner. Scan is an instance of the class scanner. And now, let's go and make a decision. We're going to say if grade is greater or equal to 90, I say congratulations. And I prefer to use this notation where we have the braces on the next line, just like we just have it. So it's much easier to match. And notice that Repo does a really good job with matching them and telling that which one matches which. And we're going to say if is greater or equal to 90, we'll say system.out.println. You have an A in the class. You have an A. So that's what we did last time, correct? If it's true, then it's going to perform this statement. If it's false, then it's going to skip it altogether. So there are going to be times that we are going to say if this, else. Once again, I'm going to place my braces right on top of each other on the next line. I'm going to say system.out println. You do not have any. And let's go and run it. So if it's greater or equal to 90, then it's going to say, it's going to perform this statement. If that is false, if it's not greater or equal to 90, if it's false, then it's going to perform this statement. But remember, it's going to perform only one or the other. So therefore, I'm going to run it. What is your current grade? My current grade is 90. You have any? Let me just place it. Kind of bothering me. I'll make it easier. What is your current grade? My grade is 89. You do not have any. So therefore, it's going to do one statement or the other. So if else statements. That's one way of writing it, of typing it up. Another way that you might see it is whenever they place it, the else, they might place it on the same line. And therefore, this will just have to be kept together. And then you can see if else. Now remember that whenever you only have one line in each if statement, you actually can just do without it. And you'll see this often. I'm not sure if you want to do it at this point in the class. And you'll see me do this once in a while. So you're gonna say yes. But every time you only have one statement, you can actually do without the braces. And therefore your end of statement is here, the column. So notice that if I run it, it's just a little more simplified version. What is your current grade? My current grade is 100%. You have it in the class? My current grade is 60%. You do not have any in the class. Your current grade is 50%. You do not have any in the class. So it works the same way. Is this easy to read? Yes. The only problem is, let's say you want to be able to have another statement here and say system.out println and say congratulations. Then you have to go back and place braces, all right? It gives you an error. Now, if we didn't have this else statement here, then it will work. But then it will only print one, and this will not be part of your statement. So system legal expression, you have a so notice what is your current grade? My current grade is 100. Congratulations, Emily. Congratulations on print. And if you have a 60, this is congratulations. So just be careful. One of the reasons that we do use your braces is because if I need to be able to add an additional line, it says system.out.println. Congratulations. I don't have to worry about going back and adding my braces. Whenever I have two statements, I do need to be able to have my braces if I want it to be within your if statement. What is your grade? It's a 95%. But now that I say what is your current grade, it's a 50%. It will say you do not have a name. So that is the main reason that we do have your braces every time we do an if statement. Later on, if you don't want to do so, then you don't have to. Or if you just have to be careful. If you do not want, if you want to be able to just have it without your braces, that's fine. Because I'll be doing that quite often as well. And I said, yes, you told us not to do this. Yeah, but it does make it a little easier, simpler, more condensed. But if you do want to be able to have an additional statement in here, make sure you place your braces. Another thing that we're going to cover, so that's if-else statements. Another thing that we're going to cover is if-else-if. So there's going to be times that, let me go back and place my braces, especially for this example. There are going to be times that I want to say, if you have a grade or equal to 90, you have an A. Else, if your grade is greater or equal to 90, it's going to go through that line here. Else, if your grade is greater or equal to 80, then we're going to say your grade. And when I line this up, I have to be very careful that I indent. Ideally, it should be here, right next to the F, but I know that the replicator will line it up right there. And therefore, I need to make sure that I line up my other brace. So you can see that next closely. You can say if it's greater or equal to 90, it's going to be an A. Else, if it's greater or equal to 80, then it's going to be a B. Then we can say else if your grade is greater or equal to 70, and notice that I'm going to line up this right next to my F's. So I know that that belongs with my F's. Once again, it's a little more work. System.out.println. So let's think about this. Okay, so I know it's not an 80. Let's say the gun tapping is 75. Is it greater or equal to 90? No, so it won't go through here. So go into the next line and say else. If is it greater or equal to 80? No, 75. So it's false. So there's going to go into the next else. If is greater or equal to 70? Yes. So therefore you have a C. What is the next one? Else if your grade is greater or equal to 60, then we're going to place our braces, system.out.println. You will have a D in the class. Else. Now, on the next else, I'm just going to place my braces because I really don't need, if it's not an A, it's not B, it's not C, it's not D, then it's going to say system.out.println. You have an F. Sadly, you have an F. And notice that I already have my closing brace and they all should match. And let me just go back and type in uppercase U. And let's go and run it. Now, one of the things that you have to be careful, let me just bring this a little lower so we can see the entire statement, is that all of your braces match. And notice that by doing your braces stacked up next to each other, we know that we have a closing brace, another close, opening, close, opening, close, opening, close, and opening, close. So therefore, and I do have an error in here. Where's my, you guys see this process? This. So notice that I do have a problem in here. Do you guys see there's an error in here in my code? So notice that in this case, my if and else statement is lined up. My if and else statement is lined up. My if and else statement is lined up. But in this case, in my last one, my braces are wrong. Did you just catch that? So that's kind of making my code a little bit confusing. And now it might make a little more sense. But I do want to be able to line up my tabs right here. And I know that for you might say, well, this is the same thing. It is, but it's not. And right now I can see that this else statement belongs to this one here. That else statement belongs to that one there. So it makes it a little easier to read. The way that I had it before, it started to kind of not sure which one belongs to which. And that becomes a problem. But let's go and run it. If I have a 99%, you have an A in the class, you have a 80%, you have a B in the class, you have a 75%, you have a C in the class, you have a 50%, you have an F in the class. So that is if-else statement. Now remember that you might see it in different format, and I have an example on the text. So there's going to be times that you might see it in this form. But notice that it's a lot more challenging to read which one belongs to which. But for now, I prefer if you do it this way, where you have your if else statement lined up, if else statement lined up, if else statement lines up, and everything is set to go. Any questions? Excellent. Another thing that we have to be careful is whenever you have a if statements within an if statement. So I'm going to go back and delete everything here. So let me make sure that I have notice that it's very easy to see that my braces are lined up. So those two braces are opening and closing. Those match up and those match up. So we're set to go. So it's going to be say, let's say this has greater or equal to 90. Then I want to say inside, I want to say if is greater or equal to 90, but if your grade is equal to 100, then I'm going to say, congratulations, system that of the println. Congratulations, you have an A++. You have a perfect score. Else, and I'm going to enclose this in my brace. Else is going to suggest you have an A in the class. So notice that in this case, it's very easy to read, but I want to give you an example where you have to be a little more careful. What's your current grade? 100. Congratulations, you have a perfect score. What is your perfect grade? It's a 95. You have an A in the class. So you can have what we call embedded if statement. If is greater or equal to 90, it's going to go into this, and then it's going to say if it's equal to 100, congratulations, you have an A+ or perfect score. Else is going to go to this statement. So those are what we call embedded if statements. It's one if statement inside the other. But you have to be careful. There's going to be times that they're going to give you the statements without, and sometimes I'll do this on the AP exam. They just get rid of the braces. And they're going to be placing, sometimes they'll mess up the tab for you. So it's going to be, they give it to you in this form. So whenever they give it to you in this form, you kind of think that this if statement and this else statements are the ones that are connected. But every else statement belongs to the first previous if statement. So even though this is tapped, this else statement ideally should be here. But in the case that they have it here, it does not mean that it belongs to this if statement. That is incorrect. So let me run it. Notice that's going to be the same thing that we had before. 100%, perfect score. That means that 95, you have a name in the class. So therefore, this else, every else statement belongs to the first previous if statement. Doesn't matter where the format that they use. So that's something to keep in mind. And the last thing I'm going to go over is a simplified version of the if statement. It doesn't happen that often that you see it, but I know that some of you guys are going to be continuing with your computer science career. And if grade, so we can say, you usually just save it into, well, let's just do a print statement. System.out.print. There's different ways of working through this. We're going to say if grade is equal to 100%, then we're going to print congratulations, perfect score. Or we just say A plus, just to be concise. Else, not an A plus. So this is a simplified version of an if-else statement. What's your current grade? 100%. A plus. What's your current grade? 90%. 9 A plus. So there's going to be very few times that you'll be seeing this question mark. But this is a Boolean statement. If this is true, then perform this, else perform this one here. And it has several uses. You can actually just also use it for, so let's say we're going to save the grade. So let's say string letter grade is equal to, and we are going to do the if statement within it. So we can say if grade is, or we're just going to say pass. We're going to determine if it's passing or not. If grade is greater or equal to 60, then pass, else fail. And then we're going to print the pass system.out.print. And then so we can just find out what it is. Current grade, 50%, fail. Current grade, 80%, pass. So this is just a simplified version of your if, else statement. If, then, else statement. So this will conclude the lesson for today. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.